The Saints running game against the Chargers, was it really that bad? Well, it wasn't really that good either. We'll break down some film and talk about it as well. Catch up on an injury report that's getting kind of concerning and talk about Boyd's sack versus the Chargers. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. Big takeaway I have from the running game differs from how I felt about it after watching the game. And I hadn't done any real film review or looked at the game from Monday's video. So, in a sense, I still stand by a lot of mistakes that were correctable. But as far as the running game and the importance of it, it's huge. But when I broke down the first 8 running plays, and the reason why I did that is because the first 8 times that we ran the ball were the 8 plays where we had some semblance of our first team offensive line in. Now, Clapp only had 2 plays because of the injury. Fuaga and Ruiz only had 9 and 20 from Banks and Penning. And so I counted all the design running plays, not counting quarterback scrambles, that happened within those first 20. Came out with 8 plays, 6 carries by Miller, 1 by Velus Jones, and 1 by Cam Akers. And I'll just say before we break it down that it still wasn't good. It needs to be better. But a lot has been talked about the PFF grades that were coming around with the Saints and just kind of looking at the way they had our offensive linemen and our running backs. They may have been a little harsh, but I honestly, I can see where at the offensive line and at the running back level, yeah, there was maybe 1 or 2 hugely egregious mistakes floating around. But more what I found, and we'll talk you through it when we break down the film in a second, is seemed to me a bunch of little correctable errors that hopefully get corrected. That those grades, the yardage, the production, everything else is going to get better and closer to where we need it to be. Now, the first play we're going to go is actually the second play we had on offense, a 2nd and 1, and it's a Miller for no gain run. We start off, we have some motion coming from the slot to the left, and initially we're in pretty good shape. Penning's got a good block. Ruiz has helped Clapp, and this is actually the play Clapp got hurt, and is ready to move off to the second level because he's just kind of passing off and making sure Clapp's got the interior lineman. Fuaga's got his guy sealed off, and right from the jump, you get a little bit of A gap space in the A gap. Miller's just getting the ball. Yeah, maybe as that A gap stays open, he could have made the cut to get in there, but I think this is more designed a little bit of an off tackle play or to try to get to the C gap, which after Ruiz moves towards the second level, Miller now has the ball, and again, he could probably get a little skinny and make that cut in the A gap, and ultimately probably would have been a better run. But in his defense, right now the C gap is opening up, and what has to happen here is now Ruiz is on the second level and has that defender, and Cooks right at the edge of your screen has got to pick up the defensive back who's coming up and run support. Unfortunately, neither thing happens because Ruiz is starting to lose his guy right here. Miller is not even able to cut up at this point. He's got about to take a step or 2 more to cut up the field to get to the C gap. And as the play runs out, Cooks completely whiffs. So at this point, yeah, if he's able to cut up, and we're going to see a couple plays later where he had a little problem on his cuts, he might be able to gain a yard or 2, reach the 20, because at this point, defensive backs coming up has got him dead to rights. Miller's still not square to the line of scrimmage. He's looking at Ruiz's guy has slid off, and I think he thought maybe I can get to the outside, which he tries to do, but defensive back does a good job of coming in low, getting him not a piece of him, getting him very solid. Miller's got nowhere to go, and play gets blown up for no gain. Like I said, maybe he makes the 20, maybe because Miller, when he is squared up and running downhill, is a little harder to tackle, gets a little power. He couldn't do any of that stuff with his shoulders facing the sideline. Okay, on 2nd and 4, We get a 5-yard run from Miller. This is a pretty nice play overall. And it's going to start off with a little Velus Jones Jr. motion back and forth. And it was good to see that they were trying to experiment with two running backs on the field, one of them being the very dangerous Velus Jones. This is a wide zone left type run or a wide zone left run. And at the snap, once again, we are in pretty good shape. You have Banks moving out towards the edge. Penning's got his guy. Simpkins is now in the game because Clapp is injured. He's going over to get to slide to the left and pick up where Penning is to help him out. Ruiz has the backside sealed. Banks is moving towards one of the backside players on the outside to try to seal him. So as this play develops, you're getting Kendre Miller the ball, and you're in pretty good shape right here. Now, give the defense a little credit. It's not perfect because ideally you'd want to keep washing the defensive right further down towards the sideline. But you got him in a good position because right now the edge player, Banks has him. There's not much he can do other than hold his ground and try to let the pursuit catch up. Penning's got his guy, and pretty much the same thing, and he's getting him turned towards the sideline. So there's a chance that he might still be able to push him back, but at the very least, that interior guy is not pushing Penning back and getting into our backfield at this point, which is ultimate goal. Simpkins is peeling out and looking for the next player coming down because Ruiz has gotten the guy that he initially was blocking. So you've got Simpkins kind of moving towards the second level at this point. Problem is coming in on the right side because there is a little gap where he might be able to slide through Penning and Simpkins, but the defense is doing a really, really good job just kind of not giving a large chunk of space to come through and giving Miller the classic on a wide zone bounce, bend, or bang, which is basically bounce to the outside, bend it back on the cutback, or just try to bang it in there and get what you can get. And he's looking for the cutback, which is probably the right play, but unfortunately, coming up to try to get there, he gets a little slip. And this happens one more time. And as he's slipping and trying to recover his balance, he's got two backside defenders crashing into him. Now, for the most part, they don't get him immediately. He kind of slips him a little bit to stumble forward and fall forward, stumble and fall, actually. It was kind of a combo of both to get a little bit of extra yardage. And that little bit of extra yardage was the difference between picking up the first down and not picking up the first down. So what happened? When we go back to the backside, right off the bat, Johnson misses his block. So now you have the edge player just crashing down the line of scrimmage. And at this point, there's no way Miller really knows that's going on and that the cutback is just not going to be available because that's what that edge player is crashing for to take it out of play. It gets a little worse. I do not know what happens here because Fuaga had his guy sealed off. And so at least you'd only been given Miller one backside defender to deal with. But Fuaga slides out and moves to second level. So I don't know if that's a timing issue, if he didn't realize he needed to hold it just a tad longer before he gets out, or if he didn't realize Ruiz was sliding over to take Simpkins' man because Simpkins was sliding over to get to the second level. If he doesn't do that, there is now a linebacker in the hole that's about ready to make Kendre Miller's life miserable. So for the most part, I think we did everything right. Just that backside, a completely missed block and either miscommunication or just a timing thing on Fuaga. So ultimately what happens, you get a slip, off balance, and now having to try to deal with two defenders. And even though Ruiz did a very good job at this point, once again, he's starting to lose control of his defender, who's now kind of getting in Miller's face. So you had a strong start to that running play. You just couldn't get it to finish the way you'd like to have finished it. But even with the slip, a whiffed block, and some type of Whatever caused Fawaga to kind of let his guy um, go really a step or two early. It's not like it was egregious, but it was enough. And Ruiz starting to lose control of his guy at the very end of the play. You kind of had four things that weren't right, and you still managed to gain 5 yards. So this is kind of one of those is the glass half full, half empty type plays because you got what you needed to pick up the first down, but at the same time, you're looking at it and going, if you can eliminate one or two, not to mention all four of those issues, how far could this play have gone far? Okay, now we're going to move on to a 1 yard run from Kendre Miller, and this was on a 2nd and 10, which kind of put the offense in a bad spot on 3rd down. So take a look at what happens here. Once again, you got some little motion that went to the left pre-snap. And at this point, Penning and Simpkins doing a good job on that double team and that combo block. Banks is getting his guy taken care of. Johnson is chipping on the edge player because you have Ruiz and Stoll pulling to get into that gap. Now, Johnson's just on a chip. He's getting out to get to the second level. And this is kind of where the problem starts because maybe Ruiz and Stoll are just a split second late, but maybe give a little credit to both those defenders recovering pretty quick because now that edge player is starting to get back into off the chip, starting to kind of get back into play. Ruiz has still got to go out and get him. Stoll is moving up to take that secondary player. And the real problem here, Banks is doing a good job on his guy, and everything else is basically sealed off. There's nothing coming from the interior of the backside that's going to cause a problem. But you have a free defender. Most dangerous man right here. He's totally unaccounted for by anybody, kind of by design, because you can't necessarily block everybody, but somebody has to account for him. So being a little step late here, and you get the gap closing. I don't even know if Miller sees that defender, but even if he does, he's got to make a hard cut up the field right now to have any chance to avoid him, which he's not able to do. Now that defender's now in there. The cutback gap that a split second ago was showing itself is there. But if he didn't see the defender, A, he doesn't know this is about ready to happen. And if he did see the defender at that point, the defender is directly behind Banks in his block and can go either way. So even if he cuts back, there's still that defender is just basically unaccounted for and it has a chance to come back into the gap anyway. I have no idea if you want to say a mistake was made, if there really was one here. Um, it it wasn't clean blocking, as crisp as you want, because if everything's just a heartbeat faster, again, you have a chance to gain some yards. As the play plays out, if you could that one free defender some kind of way been able to deal with it, either being a little quicker on the block, the pass off once these are going on, if the cutback happens, because ultimately what Johnson was doing on the chip and then getting to the second level, he's now picking up the safety. So at any point, that one free defender, we could have accounted for him and got Miller into a gap and get him upfield. You have the chance of a big play because at the very end of that, Johnson is picking up the safety and would have given Miller a chance if he can break through the line to have a chance to pick up a big run. Now, on 1st and 10, and I should mention at this point also, Fuaga and Ruiz are out the game. And we now have Hergel and Radens on the right side at right guard and right tackle, respectively. So now you're down to your last two starters, both on the left side at this point. You have an 8-yard run from Miller on 1st and 10, like I said. So this is what you want. You're picking up 4 or 5 plus yards, especially on first down on a running play. You expect good things to happen after that. This is the way you stay in front of the chains. Velus Jones Jr. does a little motion thing in and out the backfield here, and you've got to play moving to the left. Now, right off the jump, the left side's doing okay. Simpkins is coming over to help Penning. I should say the right side has got a combo. The left side's doing okay. Simpkins is sliding off to handle or to help Penning handle his guy, and you got the linebacker jetting right up the gut, about ready to make Kendre Miller's life extremely miserable, except Simpkins starts to realize his mistake and is trying to recover. Miller is realizing, this has got to go to the outside, or I've got to run through this guy. And again, he's not quite squared up north and south to be able to do it. Luckily, I think Simpkins just may have nudged him enough to slow him down just a half step that Miller needed to get around him. Kind of breaks an arm tackle. Now, at this point, you're looking really good. Tipton's matching up on the defensive back. The backside is sealed. You've got Banks and Penning basically in control of their guys, and for the most part, they're out of the play. And the middle linebacker who came free missed a chance there. So he's bouncing, and then another slip. And so I hopefully this is a cleat issue, field turf issue, whatever they were playing on that they can solve in the future. But Kendre's starting to slip around a little bit, and it is costing a chance at a bigger play once again. Because you get to this point, he's slipped. He's got nothing to do here. Now you have Tipton. He's doing a good job sealing his blocker initially. You have the secondary defender coming up with really nobody there to block him, but that's okay because if Miller doesn't slip and do what he's trying to do, which is hit the space that was basically at the seam and get upfield, once again, he's one-on-one with a safety or a defensive back, squared up, moving north and south, headed to the goal line. Now, the guys you see coming in here are only kind of getting back into the play because of that slip and stumble, and they get in there and kind of gang up on him for the tackle. So once again, you have a really nice play, but what could have been if initially Miller doesn't, Simpkins doesn't leave too early and is able to pick up that linebacker coming in. So Miller doesn't even have to slow down, break that tackle, and deal with him, get to the edge, and doesn't slip, and is able to make that hard cut up the seam. He's got a real chance of turning this 8-yard gain into an actual touchdown run. Now, the very next play after that 8-yard run, you've got a 2nd and 2, solidly down in the red zone, and you're going to get a 4-yard run from Miller, and this is starting to sound like a broken record, but here we go again. Once again at the snap, you're starting out in really, really good shape because you have 3 combo blocks right across the board. You have a nice gap opening up on that right side. You even have one, if he'd have chosen to go straight up the left hash, he probably still makes the 5 fairly easily at this point. I'm just sitting here looking at this going, this play should have went for more than the 4 yards you actually got. So what happens? You're still in great shape, and you're figuring he's about ready to square it up, get to the 5 or slightly inside. You have Cedric Wilson has come down and is getting one of the safeties about ready to pick him up. Your right side is looking good. The interior to the left side is done. Right now, they're basically out of the play. The only guy that has a chance is the other safety sitting on the goal line on the other side of the hash. Good luck, because by the time he gets in the play, Kendre is going to be sniffing the goal line. Except Kyle Hergel, and this is one, if you look at it, he's coming off that combo because there's another defender kind of sliding up. If he's there a half step, a heartbeat sooner, or if Kendre is able to get to that whole half step / heartbeat sooner, then Kendre is going to get to the 5 or inside and with a chance to power his way in. But it's just disrupted enough. He gets to the 5. And what Kendre showed last year in flashes is something right here. Gets in the pile and keeps moving. And so if you can get some of the offensive linemen to push, you can pick up a little extra yardage. So he gets about another half yard, maybe yard on the back end of that to get to his 4-yard total, get us kind of on the 5 or right inside of it. But again, we're looking at another play that starts off really, really well, and you think you have something going on there, and then it just doesn't finish as strong. Now, before we start this one, full disclosure and all honesty, I remember this play happening live, and I remember right before they broke the huddle, the camera was on the huddle, and I saw Velus Jones standing right next to Kendre Miller, and I'm thinking, and how wrong I was, and this is why I kept mentioning Jones in motion and the fact they were taking some snaps together. Is I'm like, yeah, this has got to be some design run for Jones because suddenly he's on the field with Kendre Miller and he does motion again. Well, they had been setting this up previously. And I thought the play was blown up and had no chance to succeed initially because of they had tipped their hand and everybody. But now I'm realizing on replay, especially from the all 22 angle, going, oh my God, this really, if not should have been a touchdown, we should have had the ball literally at the goal line. So the theme of these runs, for the most part, we're about already running into one that blows this theme up. Initially, we are in good shape to start to play. And you had that motion with Jones going. They had been looking at it the last couple of plays. So now he's coming back and on a reverse, he's getting the ball. And they're selling from the right side, along with Kendre and Rattler, some motion to the right side. Automatically, about half the defense is taking out the play because they're either completely biting on that fake or at least sitting there long enough to respect it to make sure the ball isn't going to the offensive right when it's actually going to the offensive left, starting off with Penning and Banks doing a great job taking care of that guy. Stoll and Wilson have picked up their guys and are sealing it off. Now, once again, we have a runner, in this case, Velus Jones, having to deal with one unblocked guy. So, make him miss, get around him, do whatever it is you have to do. And when all that backside flow to the right, when you come back here, that happened, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 defenders in the picture. The two on the right are out of the play. You got five guys basically having to work roughly a third of the field to keep one of the fastest guy in the NFL out the end zone. And that most dangerous man, unblocked initially, is coming into the play now. So now Stoll's got his guy plus that guy coming in. Jones tries to cut it back right here and runs right into the MDM. When I'm looking at this and going, if maybe just trust the play a little more at this point, because Wilson is doing a great job down there. The guy that's unblocked, that's about even with the 10, he's on the 5, but he's even with the numbers. There's no way he's going to run Velus Jones down. If Velus Jones puts his head down and heads for the front pylon and tries to get to the edge at this point, I'm fairly confident he makes it. Worst case scenario, maybe the guy that because I still think Wilson's got his guy taken care of at this point. And if you've got Velus at this point had just put his head down and used that burst and that speed to get to that front pylon, he's flirting what 2 yard line, 1 yard line at this point. I got to think he's getting in there. But worst case scenario, we basically have the ball at the 1 yard line, and that's probably the absolute worst case scenario, somewhere between the 1 yard line and breaking the plane. You sprint to that pylon at this point. I'm just feeling like that's a touchdown, and that in the future, Velus, when he gets into this situation, recognizing, man, just hit the jets and try to get to that front corner. So I'm hoping this is a learning experience. Going, hey, these guys downfield can do their job. Cedric Wilson and Stoll in this case. I had no worries there. I didn't necessarily have a reason to cut back. Let me go ahead and just hit the turbocharge and get this thing in the end zone. This would be the fourth down run, goal line stop Miller for -3 yards. And all I can say in this, I have no idea what this was supposed to be. This is one of the plays where it was ugly from the beginning and it only got worse. I don't even really know enough to tell you what let's just watch it. Because you got the motion to the right, you're trying to, misdirection, a little trickeration, all that stuff. The use of motion is You have to do it in the NFL, and you have to do it correctly. I don't know if they were expecting maybe a different reaction from the defense using this motion, or if we had some serious miscommunication going on here. But all I know is we're running towards an edge that is completely 100% unaccounted for and unblocked, and that is a serious problem. Now Miller's got the ball, and he's got one chance and one chance only, and that's to get through that teeny tiny space between 81 and Banks. Good luck, because that edge is coming down hard, and all he's thinking about is I've got to get to the mesh point, which he basically has it right now, and turn this play inside, slow it down, and let the pursuit catch up, which is not really a problem because to make things worse, we've got a little inside penetration that was going on at the same time coming from the offensive right. So there, I don't know. Basically, you left a guy unblocked that you're running right at, but you had no backside seal whatsoever. Now, at this point, Tipton's involved in a, a block to the right hand side, but we did have, and it didn't quite catch it. We've got a receiver going out to the right, which would go, okay, I'm thinking initially up until I stopped at this point and looked at it going, well, maybe it was some type of read option with possibly a rollout by Rattler where he had a choice to run it or throw it to the one receiver that was releasing to the right side of the end zone. However, Rattler is not going through a play fake right here. It's like straight handoff, and he's turning around and going, "Oh, man, I hope Kendre makes it into the end zone," because we didn't really fool anybody or block anybody on this play up to this point. And it just gets demolished. So, I mean, this is really one of the first plays that from the snap, basically this point coming up on right when I'm zeroing it zeroes in, we're done. We're cooked. This isn't going to work. Play is blown up. We just lost 3 yards on fourth down and fourth and goal. And just there's a lot of PFF grade wise. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of F's going around on this play. And this is the eighth and final running play with the last two that we had any first teamers in. So uh, Penning and Banks be off the field after this, or actually the last running play. There's a couple plays after this in the passing game. But again, I mean, just kind of same song and dance we've been talking about on all eight of these plays. From the jump, we're not in bad shape. Okay. Now you're using two tight ends on the right side on that combo block. You got Radon. He's looking Hergel. He doesn't need to help Hergel. He knows he's got the combo to his right, so he's moving to the second level. We're pitching it to Cam Akers, and you're thinking at this point, we should be able to turn something up the field. And at this point, when you look, you're accounting for the backside sealed. So even if he's got a cut back, Banks has got his guy cut off. Penning, Simpkins at 2 and 3 have their guys locked up. Now, right behind Simpkins is the most dangerous man. We have nobody to block right now, that middle linebacker, but we're running wide away from him. So, you're kind of hoping either somebody can slide off a block and pick him up, or he's just going to be chasing the play and not able to catch up, especially since Hergel's in good shape. Radon has moved to the second level and picking up a secondary defender. The two tight ends are still holding their combo block. Now, all of a sudden, everything just starts getting compressed. So you were looking, hey, we should have some space over there somewhere, right? No, it's all of a sudden compressing and closing. There is no space. I don't know this necessarily. This may be a little bit a combination of give San Diego some credit. They have a really good defense and they have really good depth in it. So these guys were able to diagnose what's going on. They're coming up from the second level. They're compressing that space. Plus, that right side is basically our outside of Stoll, um, kind of our second team there. So they're just maybe getting outplayed a little bit. all of a sudden that running space, you just got nowhere to go. And right, compresses, you get a pile up, and Akers gets tackled, but he still gained 3 yards. Even at the very end of that play, initially from this point on, you're thinking, man, we've got something going. When you're watching this from the all 22 version, and then realize at the very end of the play, there's nothing there. You still manage to eke out 3 yards on a 1st and 10. So at least you get to 2nd and 7. Not awful. And honestly, this is one of the few where you go, we started off good. We didn't finish strong, but I don't know which more we could have done other than just, asking some second team guys, hey, you've got to make stronger and better blocks. We need to do, regardless if it's first or second team in there, finish these plays just a bit stronger, start adding some of that tough hidden yard after contact yardage into our running game. I think you'd see what would seem like a significant leap compared to what we did in this game. But in actuality, it's just little things that we have to do a lot better. So injury report, subsequent roster moves, a lot going on. So I'm just going to kind of hit four more or less. I hate to call them high points, but kind of important injury updates. As far as corresponding roster moves, the Saints had some tryouts. They signed some players. We'll go into that in more depth Friday as we get prepared to talk about the upcoming preseason game against Jacksonville. But for right now, Will Clapp, done for the year, placed on IR. It's official. He won't play for the Saints in 2025. Trevor Penning, it sounds like as of this morning, um, reportedly has a turf toe injury and will miss some weeks. That could be problematic, and it's something he dealt with when he was a rookie. Not good. And even if we get him back relatively quickly, with the position change happening, I don't think this is real low key in the sense of he's going to be missing some valuable reps we really need him to get. Alontae Taylor reportedly has a groin injury and expected to miss some time. Sounds like maybe a week or two. Bub Means sounds like he had a serious injury, but I haven't heard much on it since the initial. It looks bad, and he was seeking a second opinion. Sure, we may get some clarity this afternoon, which this video will be out before practice this afternoon, and subsequent Kellen Moore talking with the media. Like I said, we'll clear up a little more on these issues on Friday, go through the roster moves a little bit. We made 4, I believe, additions, but honestly, I don't think they're done yet, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see some more stuff coming out of the rosters. Second thing I want to get to, comment from user 35605 was asking or basically commenting that Boyd got screwed out of a sack. And again, at the time I saw his comment, responded to him, was like, I'm not really sure, but initially I felt like, yeah, once again, a replay official is interpreting some rules to kind of almost benefit an offense or the way that they feel like it should have been called or whatever, because it was called the safety on the field. While I was doing this film breakdown, got a chance to look at it. And yeah, I'm in the group with the whole we got jobbed out of a safety, Christian Boyd did too. I look at it this way because I think they want to use some interpretation of the forward progress rule, because apparently first touch Boyd hit him was somewhere around the 6-inch line. But to me, as I watched the replay a couple of different times, like quarterback was moving back. Boyd did not have him wrapped up, in my opinion, at the point where, okay, you could call forward progress because Boyd had hold of him. They were in the end zone. Quarterback still had the ball. My problem with this rule is, hypothetically, and we all know the answer to this question before I ask it, but hypothetically, they make contact on the 6-inch line or wherever they wanted to spot the ball, but no wrap up yet. The quarterback is able to shake Boyd and not get sacked, throws the ball downfield for a long completion. On replay, if the Saints would challenge the completion, would they go, oh, no, 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 there was contact on the 6-inch line. That was forward progress. Cancel the completion, spot the ball in the 6, give Boyd a sack. BS. There's no way they'd have done that on replay. So if it's first contact like that on the 6-inch line, they should have blew the whistle immediately. So no, I'm going, my opinion, total BS. User 35605. My brother-in-law was here yesterday by the house. We talked about it. Several people have asked. I've seen comments. I'm in agreement with everybody in the camp of, yeah, should have been a sack safety instead of just a sack. So we'll leave it at that because, it is what it is, and the NFL is what they are. So first time here, you like what you saw, please go ahead, hit the like, share, subscribe, especially that subscribe button. Still steadily growing. I still have that goal of 950 before we kick off the season week 1. About 9 away. So if you don't mind, I'd like to readjust my goal and have that done before we play the third preseason. Just 9 away as of this recording. And I do appreciate all the help and support that the black and gold community has given me, and I will keep trying to work hard to earn your honest approval and respect. So, I say coming up Friday, we're going to be talking a lot more about the Jacksonville preseason game and kind of what's going on with rosters, injuries, and other stuff that may develop over the next 48 hours or so. So, till I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and hoot at.